sky. Can we all just sit back and just relax before we all slide? All right, I think we got it. Maybe we all do live in a yellow submarine. Number nine. Excuse me. See, 3, 6, 9. There's 3 levels, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6, middle, 1, 2, 3, and then 9, 1, 2, 3, bottom 3. And each one has a middle, an above, and a below. Inside of those, you have 11 and 12. And the 11 and 12. Well, you have 10 and 11. 10 and 11. Zeros and ones. Right? So in the zeros and ones, you have an above and a below. In between those is the middle, 3, 6, and 9. In the 3, 6, and 9s, in the middle is kind of maybe the prime. Maybe you got some stuff going on there in the middle, and you can go either way. Ascension, or the fall, right? So in that you're going through this thing, and what you don't know is that what you may know is that the marking of the sky and there will be signs and synchronicities, and at the moment that's the only thing. Like, all these things come, and it's just crazy. So at the same time, you have the flower of life, you have the tree of life, and I think the flower of life is the core part of where these signs and synchronicities along that wheel of time are intersecting. So if you make one decision in the middle, you make one decision not to do something. You have a decision to do something. Well, the below is the negative outcome, and not the negative, but say like playing guitar. So you want to play guitar, or you want to be a painter, or you want to be insert anything here. So you're in that middle layer, and you want to do something. But the above you is trying to give you signs through this thing, but not directly interfering with you. The below is upset, and legit, it's upset that you didn't do anything. But it also is upset that it sees the version of you that did do something. So through you, it is interacting to keep you from not doing anything, so that it's getting its revenge on you. That's where the whole forgiveness thing comes in. You got to forgive yourself for certain things, for some, from some aspects. So in the above, if you stay and you don't do it, you just keep humdrumming along with all the things that are distracting you from doing something one way or another. And it's not a knock, it's not being negative, it's just an observation. So as you didn't make the decision to do something, there's a above that did make the decision to do it and is doing it. But it also doesn't necessarily want to lose its spot and its recognition of its conscious existence above you. So it's not exactly going to harm you, but it's going to try to elevate you as it elevates itself into the next set of 1, 2, 3, of the 3. So it also knows that it's going to be going in and elevating into a series of challenges that come from that said success into the lower level of the next set of 3. So it's preparing itself as it's preparing you in a quantum entanglement, so that once it is ready to ascend into that next realm of existence, which has 3 levels, it's also imprinting and quantum entangling into your code so that you're better prepared to some point when you're just like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And you get that drive and you get that, things seem to fall into place and you're like, you know, I'm just going to do it. And then you start to do it. You're now you're now following the timeline. You're following the map. You're following the the yellow brick road that's been laid out for you, because now it's inside you. It's already inside you. It's already been done. And you're going to you make the decision, you're like, I'm doing it. And then you go and you start doing it and things start falling into place, because the you that does exist in a quantum entanglement, that has cast the shadow, that casts the shadow down from a higher dimension. And this has all been talked about in higher sciences, but that shadow that's been cast down has already laid the path for you to go along. But you still need to be able to maintain yourself and have a good foundation set as you move through it, so that you can handle the the stressors or successes, or the kickbacks that come while you're on your ascension. Which makes me wonder which one is actually the prime consciousness, that Trinity part of the Father, Son, Holy Ghost type thing. But it could mean several different things, I believe. So anywho, you get a going on that ascension. Now that is either going to, I think that's either going to do a couple things. It's going to try to pull the one from the lower that might not be ready, but at the same time, everything you were doing in the middle, that the higher realm version of you was doing, that was quantum entangling the inner. I keep thinking of it like that. Google searches autocorrect. Like the universe has a Dinkman code that it's auto-correcting. It auto-corrects itself. It's kind of like when you spin a top and it's wobbling and then it reaches a smooth point and then it wobbles again. Or they did an experiment on the space station where they got this cross type thing that represents the axes of the Earth, of a sphere. Then when it's spinning and loses speed, it flips, and then it does it for a few minutes, and then it flips back and it recalibrates. I think it's something kind of like that. But with this quantum entanglement, as the higher your higher consciousness, your subconsciousness, which those are your subconscious. So as it has its consciousness, but its subconscious is a lower version of you and a higher version of you. And as you connect and do things, like even with his decisions or her decisions, it is creating a tree of life, another branch of things that it didn't decide to do, that created uh, another series of paths leading into that whole multiverse thing, where it's your single consciousness that is dividing off from three sections, and then multiplying that out into three more sections, or three more levels in another existence. uh, and again, all quantum entangled. They're all quantum entangled. So every one of them, and the decisions that are being made that alter the codes in drinking, smoking, toxins, whatever they may be, and your knowledge, your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses, it's all quantum entangled, and interacting instantaneously, spooky action at a distance, with each other. That's where the butterfly effect theories come in, and to help you understand that, one small stone in a pond creates ripples that spread out through everything. And then you throw in the double split experiment, where those one ripples that are being observed are changing as they're observed, but then when they're not observed, they go back to doing a standard pattern, right? Or a scattered pattern until they're observed, and then they form into something, which is part of that. It's not what you do when someone's watching or when you're being watched. It's what you do when no one's looking. And, all those things come into play. It's just like it's all out there. It's all out there for us to possibly be able to pick and gather and look at and know that everything you're doing all the time has meaning. Not only for you, but for take the hundred monkey theory, or 100 monkeys. There was two islands separated. The monkeys on this island couldn't see the monkeys on this island. Well, they went and put like sweet potatoes or something on this island. They were all dirty. Well, a couple of the monkeys started taking the sweet potatoes down and washing the sweet potatoes. Well, eventually, they kept dropping off more sweet potatoes. They were dirty though, and the monkeys would slowly, more and more monkeys on this island were starting to go and wash the sweet potatoes off. What they observed though on the other island is that the other monkeys on the other island, I might be getting this a little mixed up, but basically they started to once they weren't washing them off, and then once 100 monkeys on this island that was washing them off, then they started over here on this island, they started to wash them off. Like it took 100 monkeys combined conscious power to telepathically interact with the monkeys on an island that were not doing that particular skill at that time. Same thing with humans. That's why it's so important sometimes in these levels to notice what is being done in order to keep you in such a mindset or keep you and others separated from gaining 100 monkey type consciousness, that the energy of 100 consciousnesses in sync, kind of like metronomes on a board. You can offset metronomes on a board, and eventually they will all sync up, like the 100 monkeys, with that kind of energy, with that kind of synchronicity. Then you are affecting. You are a pebble in a pond, and your ripples of what you are doing, whether it be words of wisdom, whether it be energy, happy energy, good vibes, or if it's a bunch of negative vibes, those ripples are going to go out, and the more consciousness, the more brain buckets you get into an area where they interact with each other, that energy is going to be a dominant energy that's spreading out amongst others and reaching out amongst others. And then one circuit, one city connects to another city, and you start to have that ripple effect, that butterfly effect. But that can also be looked at as a negative that ripples out, or a positive that ripples out. And then you go back and you're like, well, what are the things that influence that mood, my settings, and my consciousness on the daily basis? And then looking for the you can call them agents of chaos or viruses that are infecting the ability of a group consciousness to function in a higher vibration to benefit the growth and the raising the bar, or raising the consciousness to a level that is more beneficial for all. Because in the grand scheme of things, inside this place that creates these levels and these quantum entanglements, it must be a gathering place for some of the most ancient intelligence to come and put their inputs in. And then that's where I feel like these different cultures are coming from. And they all have some kind of tie, it seems, to a specific star grouping out there in the neighborhood. Outside of this, we are shown a map out there, and we're taught some basic things. And then we go through these trials and tribulations and tests, and they go on cycles of 7, 11, 13 years. And then during this, it's even like in a week you have 7 days, and then in a month you have a full moon and new moon, and then in a year you have, was it 28 or no? You have 11. You have 11, so you have 7 days in a week, 11 months in a year, and each one of these is you're learning something. You're either baseline, you're in the middle, and you're just doing stuff because that's what you do, and that's good. That's it. That's the end of that. There's no judgment. Or you are working on your core foundation, your consciousness, your soul, and in those 7 days, you're doing things that's going to affect the one day or the 3 days that are either side of this full moon or new moon, uh, in a way that keeps moving you towards the direction that you're going. And that's the same. You do a bunch of dumb shit and negative stuff, you're just going to lower your vibration and you're going to sink lower down through the levels, through these frequencies that are inside the spectrum. You can call uh, 1 through 3 a spectrum, 4 through 6 a spectrum, 7 through 9 a spectrum. And inside each one of those are the very minute frequencies that separate each and every one of us. Each and every one of you have an IP address the same as what that phone has. You're vibrating on a specific frequency that is off just by, take the numbers all the way out, and you're separated by that amount, which is just enough. Just like the cell phones, if I call a certain number, it goes right to that phone. It does not bleed over into the others. So we are the same way. But if you get enough of those consciousnesses together, then it's like a Wi-Fi signal or a Bluetooth signal, and it's beaming out there and putting out good vibes or putting out bad vibes. Then you also, birds of a feather flock together. So if you are in those, then you're sinking or rising into those groupings, or staying in the middle. Again, not a judgment, just observations, and floating along. I think as just floating, you're just in the middle. You're just floating. But oof, out there is something, and in here is the classroom for you, or for those that want uh, to achieve a higher vibration and a higher dimension, or a higher classroom. And on the other side, if you're really into the stuff that's on the lower, not lower, but on the opposite side of that, then you're going to feel that love and get that love from those type of consciousnesses that um, share similar beliefs with you in that way. You know, if and it's just an observation. It's not a judgment. That's why it's like, don't judge. You don't have to judge. You can remember. You can find your group or your coven or your collective, whatever name you want to put to it, community. Yeah. So I think I think that everyone does have a chance all the time, every single moment, to make a choice on your what you perceive as your own free will. But at the same time, you are being influenced, and you can be hacked. You can be basically hacked by these devices, by the floating signals and frequencies that are out there, and with the way that we have been shown how some of this type of technology, and magic is only technology we don't understand yet or haven't been shown yet, for good reasons. Um, that can mess with you, mess with your consciousness, mess with your decision makings if you don't have a solid foundation of who you are. And yeah. So I just wrote this song that kind of goes along with what I just said. On this blue ball with a white marble sticking out the sky, it gets the brightest when the night hits. Watch out for those glowing eyes. Pull me mark the madness as it passes, turning your third eye on. Where do you go, man? What do you do when the blue beam shines down on you? Can you tell me who you are as you're watching from afar? You're watching me and I'm watching you, feeling kinda like a Scooby-Doo on a Freaky Friday. If you see what I see, this here song's for you. All this just to say before we leave here someday, hey man, I love you too. On this blue ball with a white marble floating in the sky, can we all just sit back and try to relax before we all slide? And then that was the moon. yeah. Yang maybe, I don't know. And this one's a little rougher, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm rough around the edges, and that's okay. On this blue ball with a white marble floating in the sky, also shines the brightest when that light ignites us and activates our hidden eye. When they ask, can you see what I see? It's not always about a Christmas tree. Unlock and activate, it is never too late to learn how to fly. Magnetics and pancakes, these things never equate. So go eat a date, water leads to heaven's gate. Blue beams pick you up, rainbows can bring you luck. These words here are cold hard facts. You're watching me and I'm watching you, feeling kinda like a Scooby-Doo on a Freaky Friday. That's what I say here in the song for you. All this just to say before we leave here someday, hey man, I love you too. Can we all just sit back and just relax before before we all slide? That was something I got. I'm still working on it. That one's That one's a work in progress. But man, I love that. Magnetic sand pancakes, these never equate. So go eat a date, water leads to heaven's gate, blue lights pick you. I've read lyrics before that make less sense, so that actually makes a whole lot of sense. Especially if you paid attention to what I was saying. Peace.